Hello and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'm going to be talking about Jupiter's retrograde transit in the sign of Aries. Jupiter will be going retrograde from the 4th of September till the 31st of December, which is around about 4 months. So in astrology, when planets in transit go retrograde, it means that there is a block in the normal flow of that energy, and instead that energy turns inwards, making it internalized and more subjective. Retrograde planets challenge your perspective and make you look at life from a totally different point of view. The retrograde planet can bring back memories of the past, and a person may have to go back and deal with any unfinished business. The energy is slower in terms of manifesting the external world, so that is why it is not ideal to start something totally brand new, but rather going back and correcting anything from the past. Retrograde planets signify unconventional ways and approach to life. When a planet goes retrograde, its effects are felt in a more internal way rather than external. So when Jupiter goes retrograde in transit, it can mean that the Jupiterian things and houses it rules are not able to progress as they normally do when Jupiter is direct. Jupiter is an extroverted planet, and when it goes retrograde, we tend to experience the introverted side of its energy. So when Jupiter is direct in transit, it brings abundance of opportunities and possibilities and magnifies the effect of the house it transits and aspects. But when it becomes retrograde, you may have to go back to opportunities that you had turned down. So this can be a powerful time to reassess your personal growth and perhaps have another think around the course of direction you are taking. Possibly when Jupiter was in direct motion and in close conjunction with Rahu, forming a Guru Jandal Yog, you may have taken the wrong path or made the wrong decision. So now could be a time for a course correction. So over the next few months, you could feel more compelled to mediate on how you've been getting on in pursuit of the goals in your life, and asking yourself if this is really the game plan you want to stick with. This can be a time to review your growth strategies, a time to look inwards and find your missing potential and recapture missed opportunities. Jupiter represents knowledge and higher education. So if you are a student, instead of diving into a course or a topic head first, you have to try and work with the Jupiter retrograde energy. This is a time to be a more reflective learner by examining past experiences and ideas. This means that during this period, you may have to think about your learning process and its associated outcome. Think about your learning strategies on how you can maximize your learning. Think about fixing poor behaviors and recapturing old knowledge. Jupiter also represents our belief system. So Jupiter retrograde period is a time when we are working on our belief system, restructuring old beliefs and adjusting our nature. This period you can be reviewing the faith that you may have lost and tweaking your ideals and opening your mind to other principles. Jupiter will be going retrograde in the sign of Aries, which is all about taking action, being aggressive and new beginnings, because it is the natural first house. But Aries can also be a sign of recklessness. So if in your chart you have prominent planets in Aries and you are under the age of 30, then Jupiter retrograde can actually help those people by not expanding the Aries energy outwards, but rather defending and protecting a person and guiding them to choose the right path for their growth. So for those that are ruled by the fiery signs, especially if you are Aries moon or Sagittarius moon, and if you are someone who spends a lot of energy starting things but not really finishing them off, then this Jupiter retrograde will guide you to find the right path and finish what you need to, rather than opening up lots of doors and not really getting anywhere. Aries is also about leadership. So if you are in an authoritative position, Jupiter retrograde is a time to reflect on how you are leading others. Jupiter will be retrograde in Bharani Nakshatra and Ashwini Nakshatra. So firstly, Bharani Nakshatra is ruled by the planet Venus and is symbolized by Yoni, which is a female reproductive organ, which reflects the ability to bear or carry a child. And in order to have a child, two people obviously have to be creative. And therefore this nakshatra is ruled by the planet Venus and signifies the ability to reproduce. Now, if you think about a mother who has to give childbirth, it is a painful process. But once a baby is born, there's a lot of joy after the pain. So you can think of this in terms of a transformation, where a person has to go through some pain before getting some joy. Bharani Nakshatra deals with the extremes of creating life as well as disillusion. This nakshatra is connected with sexuality and attraction. The Aries zodiac is ruled by masculine Mars, and the union with feminine Venus reflects creative potential. So Jupiter is in mixed dignity here, and when it goes retrograde, it means that you will have to be more creative regarding the significations that are ruled by Jupiter in your chart. Now, being creative doesn't mean painting a picture or writing a song. Being creative means thinking, identifying, exploring, and creating new ideas and seeing new perspectives and possibilities to solve problems, dilemmas, or to make things happen in your life. While Jupiter is retrograde, Saturn already has been retrograde for the last couple of months. So two of the strongest energies are in retrograde motion. So for some of you, what that means is that the next few months can feel like you are stuck in a rut, making you feel frustrated, and you'll feel like you're not able to move forward in your life. But it's important to use this energy to your advantage, and you can think of retrograde as a second chance. So this is a time to restructure shaky foundations, and you can reflect on things in your life, make the necessary corrections and adjustments by being creative. And when both Saturn and Jupiter go direct, you'll be able to progress with your life. So I will now go through Jupiter retrograde transit for all these zodiac signs. Now it's important you look at transits from the moon, because all events that happen in the person's life will have an impact on the mind. The transit from the moon will tell us when a person feels an emotion of an event. This could be happiness, sadness, frustration, or jubilation. For Aries natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your first house. The first house is the most important house in Vedic astrology because it represents our overall self. So this retrograde phase can be more of a defining period where you can set out the next steps in your life. Rahu has been transiting your first house for the past 18 months, so you would have developed a stronger independent nature and the ability to be brave and put yourself and needs first. You would have also experienced some changes in your personality and encountered new things. Jupiter entered the first house, and together Guru Chandal Yoga was formed 6 months ago. And this might have brought some health related difficulties or losses in your life, which may have made it difficult to progress forward. Rahu is now getting weaker and will soon exit your first house, while Jupiter retrograde is becoming stronger. So this is a time that you can develop tremendous fiery energy inside of you, which can help you see improvements and defeat any health and mental well-being issues. However, if you are not suffering any health-related issues, you have to be mindful that all this fiery energy inside of you can build up, and it will feel like you might not be able to release it, which can cause a person to become impatient and restless. So if you do feel like this, then this is a time to find an outlet to release this energy. So for example, you could take up exercise or spend time in nature or even rediscover something new. Guru Chandal Yog may have brought some unnecessary fear, anxiety or confusion which may have been stopping you from doing certain things or starting things in your life. Rahu's fear is an illusion, it's not real. So Jupiter retrograde is a time to reflect on what you want to do, where you want to go, and develop the inner confidence, determination and hopefulness to start any new beginning when Jupiter is direct. Guru Chandal Yog may also have made you start something new which during this Jupiter retrograde you might regret. So this can be a time to retract your steps and construct a better plan of action. It's a time you can actually reset your life again. So for example, you might have moved abroad, but now you might feel like you want to move somewhere else instead. Or if you are studying, you might be feeling like you've chosen the wrong course or qualification. So now is the time to start again. When a planet goes retrograde in transit, it can often mean starting something again. So now for those of you that experience good growth the past 6 months, when Jupiter retrogrades in the first house in the sign of Aries, some of you may start to feel delays, blocks or some hurdles in your life. This is because Guru Chandal Yog may have given you tremendous personal development, because depending on a person's chart, if Rahu and other planets are strong, a person can be ruthless and have the hunger and energy to make whatever strides they want. But now that Rahu is changing signs and moving into your 12th house and Jupiter is in retrograde motion, that invincibility you may have had can start to fade, and even doing the little things may not go according to your plans. So some of you may have to rethink your plan of action, but this is a good thing because the Rahu energy is not stable. So this retrograde phase is giving you an opportunity to build a sustainable foundation to any new beginning you have started. The first house also represents your character, your personality and behavior. So Jupiter retrograde along with Saturn retrograde is a good time to evaluate your actions and how you are coming across. Rahu in your first house may have caused some changes in your character or behavior. So now can be a period to recorrect your persona. Jupiter is a planet of compassion and generousness. So these qualities may start to be projected outwards. You might also feel forced to redefine your self-identity, which is an internal awareness of who you are and how your identity fits into your immediate environment. First house is also outer appearance. So this is also a period where a person can feel more self-aware of their appearance or any health-related issue. So for example, you might feel like you need to get into better shape. So this is a period a person can go to the gym or do yoga, or if you already go to the gym, you can be thinking about changing your program or your nutrition. If you are someone who is concerned with skincare, then this can be a time to review, perhaps change products and try something different. If you are working in the beauty industry or you provide a range of fitness and exercise services, then this can also be a very useful period. Jupiter is a teacher and it includes occupations such as consulting and advising. So this Jupiter retrograde in Bharani Nakshatra will slow you down and make you think outside the box, and you'll be forced to be more creative and innovative to open up new possibilities in your life. You see, although Bharani is ruled by Venus, it's not really a great nakshatra. And since Jupiter is going in and out and back into Bharani, you will have to constantly regenerate new ideas to solve problems in order to make progress. Jupiter is also ruling your 9th house. And if the past 6 months were positive for you in terms of your studying or higher education, then when it goes retrograde in your 1st house, this can be a slow period, but you can use that to your advantage. When Jupiter, the planet of higher learning, goes retrograde, this is an opportunity to make changes to your learning strategies and become more of a reflective learner. So for example, if you are studying for an exam, you need to ask yourself how well you understand each of the topics you are studying and identify gaps in your knowledge and where you need to improve. Because Jupiter is retrograde in Bharani Nakshatra, if you do feel like you've hit a roadblock in your learning, it means that you have to come up with a different learning strategy. So that's some of the information for Aries natives. For Taurus natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your 12th house, which is the final realm or the stage of the Zodiac wheel. It is the house of ending, surrender, and letting go. Jupiter retrograde in the 12th house is firing up your subconscious mind and memory, which can make this transit a little bit difficult because past events and emotions can come back into your mind all of a sudden, which can make it difficult to let go. So when Aries rules the 12th house, it means that a person believes they are the only one who can solve their own problems. Aries is the sign of self, and the 12th house is the house of healing. So Guru Jandal Yog, the past 6 months would have either caused you some difficulty to heal yourself from events in your life, or you might have been overly dependent on certain drugs or medication to help you heal. Guru Jandal Yog in the 12th can also make a person prone to escapism, where a person escapes from the real world to the safety and comfort of a fantasy, which can involve things like alcohol abuse. So you see, Rahu is a type of energy that only gives temporary relief. And now, as it is getting weaker and will soon exit Aries, Jupiter will be going retrograde and becoming stronger. So this is a time you need to start the healing process again. Jupiter will be retrograde in Bharani Nakshatra, so you need to develop a new action plan for your recovery. If you are suffering from any emotional or mental health difficulties caused by past events in your life, such as relationships, accidents, family, unfulfilled desires, you might be finding it really challenging to emotionally let go. So this is a time you need to take care of yourself by reaching out to support groups and other people. If you have been suffering from any physical ailments, then 8th Lord Jupiter in retrograde motion in the 12th can mean that you need to go through the healing process. So if you have been delaying or if you have been on a waiting list for a procedure or surgery, then this can be a period where you can have it done. Or if you have already had it done, then Jupiter retrograde can mean that you have to attend to it again. So this can either mean having the procedure redone or simply meaning you have to have follow-up consultations. 8th house Lord Jupiter retrograde in the 12th house shows that if you have been looking to move abroad but your efforts were blocked, so for example by family or your visa was refused and you are appealing, or you just had confusion where to move, then this Jupiter retrograde can help you build up the courage, determination, and you'll be able to go back and make a decision. Because Rahu will move into your 11th house, and Jupiter is also your 11th house Lord in the 12th, you can experience some fulfillment of desire that you have. But you have to be mindful, Saturn is aspecting your 4th house. So whatever move you make, whether it be moving abroad, or even if you move house in the city where you are living, there will be some difficulty to adjust. But this is obviously normal because wherever people move, it takes time to adjust. So there's nothing to be fearful of. If you had already moved abroad or changed house during the past 6 months, then this Jupiter retrograde can bring back memories of your past. So for example, where you used to live, and you could be feeling nostalgic. The 8th house also represents joint income, and obviously when the Lord is in the 12th house, either you will be building financial security abroad or spending money to go abroad. So finances could also be on your mind during this period. But Rahu will be transiting in your 11th house, which will help you increase your income. Saturn is also in the 10th house, which isn't bad, so you'll be able to work hard in your career, which will help your progression. Jupiter ruling the 11th house and in retrograde motion also means that there could be 11th house activities which you may need to attend to. So this could well provide an opportunity to you to complete any unfulfilled long-term hope or desire. So I mentioned going to foreign lands, so this could also be temporarily reconnecting with a long-lost friend, or perhaps visiting a place far away, or a wellness or meditation retreat, which can actually help you with your self-healing. In terms of other results, the 12th house is also the house of monetary expenses, and Guru Jandal Yog may have given you some unnecessary expenses. So when a retrograde planet is transiting the 12th house, a person deliberates before letting go of money. But sometimes it can also mean that you might have to attend to some kind of expense which you have been delaying. The 12th house is also the house of spirituality. So spirituality is about seeking a meaningful connection with something bigger than yourself and searching for the meaning of life, which can result in a positive emotion. So for some, it is also a belief in God and participation in an organized religion. So when Jupiter is retrograde, it is about going back and finding yourself again and understanding how you fit into this world. Retrograde Jupiter is actually a good time for spiritual growth because the 12th house is already an introspective house. And when Jupiter is retrograde, the subconscious is getting stronger. The final thing is, though Jupiter can give good intangible results in the 12th house, it is also a functional malefic for Taurus natives. And the 12th house also represents hidden enemies. So for the rest of the Jupiter transit in the sign of Aries until May 2024, you have to take some caution in trusting people, especially if you're not going through a good dasha. What that means is not to take anything that people say for granted, and make sure everything is transparent if you are signing any documents or contracts. For Gemini natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your 11th house, which is a house of wish fulfillment, earned income, and social network. So for many Gemini natives, the Guru Jandal Yog the past 6 months may have been positive for you, where you may have been able to increase your income, enjoy your social life, network with different people and foreign people, and fulfill some of your hopes and wishes. Now, if the past 6 months were not positive for you, where you experienced some difficulty in relation to your network circle or friends, or your income has suffered in any way, then it can be because Guru Jandal Yog may have affected those areas of your life. So you see, generally Rahu is positive in the 11th house, but when Jupiter and Rahu are conjunct together, a person's happiness can also be blocked in that area of life. So firstly, in terms of career and earned wealth, if Guru Jandal Yog caused some adverse changes or a fall in your career, where you were not able to meet your career goals, or if you were unsuccessful in trying to find a new job, then now can be a better period for you. Because Rahu will soon move out of Aries and into your 10th house, which is a better house for career. Jupiter retrograde in the 11th house is now emerging from the smoke of Rahu, and a person can feel more determined inside because the retrograde energy of Jupiter is expanding inside of them. So it is a time to go back and try again, and you can get the desired result, at least for the time being. Now, if the past 6 months were good for you and you were able to find the position and salary you were looking for, Rahu's exit from Aries and Jupiter retrograde can also be a time where you have to rethink your income generating strategies. Rahu's transit in the 11th house or Guru Jandal Yog could have provided a temporary increase in income, sudden income, or perhaps it was a period where you were able to maximize your earnings through acting in a role or even by doing lots of overtime. Now, because Rahu does not provide stability, with its exit and Jupiter in retrograde motion, this can reduce your income. But it's also an opportunity to think about developing a more stable plan for the future. And then when Jupiter goes direct with Rahu in the 10th house, you'll be able to continue your financial growth. Since Jupiter also rules the 10th house, its retrograde motion in the 11th can make a person really focused on their work, and they can think about alternative ways to achieve their professional goals. A person can think about how they can better support their career or what they can do to achieve their goals. So if your goal is just to get a job, or it might be to reach a certain level or position, then this is a time a person can think about upskilling themselves and coming out of their comfort zone. Saturn in the 9th, Rahu in the 10th can make a person come out of their comfort zone and therefore give career advancement. If you are self-employed or in a business partnership, and if Guru Jandal Yog caused the past 6 months to be challenging, then this retrograde period is where you can get the courage to make the necessary changes to enhance your business and perhaps experience a better relationship with your business partner. Jupiter ruling the 7th house in retrograde motion is a time to reassess your business partnership, define roles, discuss long-term goals, and identify how you can move forward for the betterment of your livelihood. This is a time to foster transparency and a mutual understanding. And if you can do that, then when Jupiter goes direct, you can see good results. In terms of business, in terms of personal relationship or marriage, when Jupiter goes retrograde, you can be re-evaluating your love life. So if you're in a committed relationship, it doesn't mean that you're going to separate. It can mean that you will be self-examining your relationship goals with your partner. So obviously when two people are together, they have an agreement on things. And when Jupiter is retrograde in the 11th house, it is about reviewing partnership goals. If you are in a recently formed relationship, Jupiter retrograde can also make you think about what you are getting from the current relationship. Because Guru Jandal Yog may have blinded you by infatuation, but now that Rahu is moving out, Jupiter is no longer blinded, and you will pause and think whether that person is the one for you. The 11th house is also the house of establishing connections, and when Aries rules the 11th house, the approach to making friends can be rather impulsive and passionate. So that's why Gemini people can be quick to make friends with so many different types of people. So when Jupiter is retrograde, this is a time where you won't be making a lot of new connections, but rather thinking about your existing network circle and being more appreciative of them. Guru Jandal Yog may have affected your network circle, either having a falling out or losing touch with someone. So this period can be a time to catch up or think about old and past friends. Finally, when Jupiter is transiting the 11th house, it is 8th from the 4th, which means that there can be activities in relation to 4th house matters that you have to attend to. So for example, this could include treatment to any health issues related to chest, heart, lungs, or maybe some activity in relation to property or mother. Saturn is retrograde in the 9th house, which is 6 from the 4th, while Jupiter retrograde in the 11th means that there will be patience required from you in respect to any medical treatment. Anything related to property matters could also be moving slower than usual because there could be obstacles popping up, so you just have to be mindful of that. For Cancer natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your 10th house of karma, career, reputation, and overall contributions to society. So Guru Chandal Yoga was formed in your 10th house, and if your natal chart is strong in terms of career, then you may have gone abroad to work, or you may have experienced sudden unexpected elevation. But along with this rise, you may have also faced some chaos as well. So now with this Jupiter retrograde, things can now start to slow down and settle down in your workplace. And this period for you guys is more about maintaining your reputation and planning your next steps in your professional development. Now, if Guru Chandal Yoga hindered your career progress or caused unhappiness in your profession, and with Saturn also in a difficult position, some of you may have encountered setbacks. So this Jupiter retrograde can be a time to restart your career. The retrograde energy can fill a person with more drive and determination because it is being internalized. And rather than being scattered, it is more directed and focused, which can help in achieving career objectives. If you have changed job recently and you're not satisfied or happy, or you have been trying to change jobs but have been unsuccessful, then this Jupiter retrograde can make you change again. Because retrograde is about redoing things, which includes applying for jobs. If you suffered any health-related obstacles that affected your career, perhaps you had to take extended time off earlier this year, then this is also a period a person can return back to their workplace. 9th house Lord Jupiter retrograde in the 10th house is about performing your duty in your workplace. So this is about following the rules, procedures and policies of the organization. Now because Guru Chandal Yoga has been in this house, if you have been involved with breaking the rules or any unethical behavior, then this can now come to the forefront and you may have to deal with the consequences while both Jupiter and Saturn are retrograde. Since Jupiter is also ruling your 9th house, if you experience any disruptions or failure in your higher education, this can be a busy period where you have to go back and recapture any knowledge, including having to resit exams or redo assignments. Some of you may have felt a lack of support the last 6 months because teachers kept changing or a lack of certain resources. So Jupiter retrograde in Aries is actually a good time for comprehension because the energy is more focused and directed, and without the conjunction of Rahu, you will start to see things more clearly. Since 9th house Lord Jupiter is retrograde in the 10th house, some of you will also be thinking about how your qualification aligns with your career objective. You may find that it doesn't, in which case you might be thinking about upskilling yourself during this retrograde period by enrolling yourself in short-term training to improve your employment opportunities. 9th house also has to do with father, bosses, government, but importantly your belief system and the impact of it on your career. So you see, the belief system is your set of principles, which is the invisible force behind your behavior, and together with your personality, it affects how you live your life. So when Jupiter is retrograde in the 10th house, you can be philosophical about whether your beliefs are in sync with where you are working. So for example, if you're someone who protests about guns, then working in a gun business isn't a good fit. So there is something in your belief system that may need to change during this retrograde period so that it better aligns with your career. Jupiter is also ruling your 6th house, and when it goes retrograde, you'll be reflecting on your daily routine, work, and your health and well-being. So this is a time to rebuild stronger and possibly healthier habits to support and maintain your general well-being. If you have been experiencing any obstacles in relationships, then Jupiter retrograde in the 10th house with the aspect of Mars can be a difficult time. However, from mid-November, things can start to settle down and you can start to experience some happiness and joy regardless of any external conditions. For Leo natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your 9th house, which is the house connected to all things expansive, including thoughts, travel, higher level learning, philosophy, and belief system. So Rahu has been in your 9th house for the past 18 months and became conjunct with Jupiter the past 6 months, forming a Guru Chandal Yoga. So you may have acquired plenty of knowledge and awareness. This knowledge could have been through higher education, travel, life experiences, and transformation, or even through books and YouTube videos. So now that Rahu is shifting into your 8th house and Jupiter is going retrograde, this is a time to reflect and question the knowledge you have learned and accumulated and reform or revise your belief system. Every time a major planet transits the 9th house, our belief system can go through changes. If you are a religious person and if you have very strong faith, then Jupiter retrograde can be a period where a person overanalyzes things and can seek answers from a religious figure of the faith they follow. If in your natal chart you have an afflicted 9th house and you are enrolled in higher education, then Guru Chandal Yoga may have caused some obstacles or uncertainty in your progression towards the qualification. Jupiter retrograde can fix and repair any academic issues, and this could be a time where your learning and revision can be much more thorough because the retrograde energy can make you delve deeper and immerse yourself into any academic topic. Jupiter in the 9th house, Jupiter retrograde in the 9th house can also be an opportunity to reflect on your learning process and making any necessary changes to improve your future performance. This is a good time to engage in reflective learning, which is a conscious approach to monitoring and assessing your knowledge and looking for ways in how you can improve your studying methods. The 9th house also represents bosses, teachers, government, and law. Since Rahu is a law breaker, if you have done anything immoral or unethical or anything which is not in accordance with Dharma, then Jupiter retrograde can be a period where you have to correct your moral integrity. If you had a difficult relationship or conflict with your leaders, then things can now start to ease and relationships can improve. Saturn is also retrograde in the 7th house, which also represents other people, and it is all about finding balance and fairness. The 9th house is also father, so you may not have seen eye to eye and possibly had a difficult relationship the past 18 months. So now is a time that you can rebuild the bond or maintain a cordial relationship. Jupiter rules the 8th house and therefore any transformation that happens in your life. This transformation could be to do with health, moving country, children, and significant transformations in life can be challenging to deal with. So when Jupiter is retrograde in the ninth house, it means that if you think before taking action, there will be luck on your side to help you through any difficult situation. Jupiter rules the fifth house, and retrograde in the ninth means that this is a great placement because all the fifth house matters can get boosted tremendously. So firstly, creativity. If you're working within a creative field, then during this period you can boost your vision and inspiration by challenging yourself to look at things from different angles. This can be a time where you can search within yourself to find tremendous insight and inspiration to aid your work. The fifth house also rules your passion. So Jupiter retrograde in the ninth house means that you return to a hobby or activity that you used to do. And not only that, you can further develop it and turn it into a job. Fifth house also rules children. And Guru Chandal Yog may have caused some difficulties if you have kids, either with the health, or they may have been away from you, or the relationship with them may have been strained. So this is a period where children will be on your mind, and you can really be focused on your duty as a parent. The fifth house also rules investment, and when its lord Jupiter is retrograde in the ninth house of prosperity, it's a time a person can look at alternative investment options and consider other ways to become successful. Because the retrograde energy is not flowing as per normal, it's unconventional because it's moving backwards. So it can be a time to think outside the box and think about other ways to become prosperous. This is especially the case if Jupiter is retrograde in your natal chart. For Virgo natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your 8th house, which is a house of regeneration and transformation. So this house also rules intimate agreements around money and assets, and also signifies fears, insecurities, and emotional vulnerability. So with Guru Chandal Yog formed in this house, the past 6 months or so, you may have experienced fears, unhappiness, and difficulty in trying to deal with any issues which are stopping you from making progress in your life. You may have felt stuck in your life and unsure which direction to go. Now that Rahu will soon be moving out of Aries, Jupiter retrograde will be a period for you to begin to reinvent yourself and plan the foundation in order to build or start something new in your life, such as changing residence, moving country, marriage, or partnership. So reinventing oneself isn't easy because the 8th house, you are forced to face your fears, deal with insecurities before you can move forward. So this retrograde period will be a time to think about how you can deal with these vulnerabilities. This is a time when old health issues and concerns regarding well-being can come back from the past, and you'll be forced to address them now through some kind of treatment or surgery, which is what the 8th house represents. Jupiter in retrograde motion may not let you progress externally, but emotionally and mentally, this is a time to develop inner strength and deal with any difficulties and fears so that you can move forward in your life when Jupiter goes direct. Jupiter retrograde is a time where past issues can appear regarding joint financial matters and inheritance. Perhaps Guru Chandal Yog may have caused some disagreements in these matters, so this is a time to think about a solution. If you faced any obstacles involving insurance matters, such as getting a claim paid, then this is a time you can find a solution. This is also a time to review insurance policies because as life changes, such as having children or starting a business or buying a house, your insurance needs can also change. So this is a good time to look into that. Jupiter is ruling the 7th house, which is the house of partnerships, and the 8th house represents death and rebirth. So in a sense, a partnership or marriage can go through transformations, which can sometimes involve divorce, separation, or the formation of new relationships or even secret affairs. But transformations are not limited to this. In many cases, transformations in relationships and marriage can be things which need to be talked about and done differently. It's inevitable that there will be rough patches in a relationship and where the relationship barely resembles the one which started, and you can feel like the marriage is dead. So now Jupiter retrograde is a good time for the rebirth or renewal of your relationship. This can be a time you will have to come to terms with any changes in the relationship. This is a good time to foster emotional intimacy and rekindle sexual chemistry and revive the relationship. It's time to rebuild the romance and sustenance through communication, romantic gestures, scheduling date nights, and importantly, intimacy. Jupiter retrograde is in Bharani Nakshatra, which is a highly sensual and sexual nakshatra, which can reignite the spark and rejuvenate your personal life. And this is all part of the transformational energy of the 8th house. If you are not in a relationship, Jupiter influencing the 8th house can be a time to start thinking about reinventing yourself. You might feel like you are in a rut and you could be seeking change in your life to do with your job, hobbies, relationship, or even location where you are living. So during this retrograde period, it's a time to start with self-understanding and self-awareness, which means assessing your situation and thinking about what you would like to achieve in your life moving forward. It's a time to define your core values, and then when Jupiter transits direct, it will be easier for you to make the changes. The 8th house also represents chronic illnesses. So if you have been diagnosed with any illnesses, mental or physical, or had any accidents or surgeries recently, then this retrograde period, your health can be more on your mind. Saturn is also retrograde in the 6th house. So if you watch my Saturn retrograde video, I mentioned that you have to look after yourself during these months. Jupiter is also your 4th house lord, which is the house of emotions. And when it transits the 8th house in retrograde motion, the emergence of old feelings, past trauma, buried secrets can return in your mind. So during these few months, you can look into creative therapy alongside any other medical treatment you may be having. In terms of other things, I mentioned reinventing yourself. So this can include changing your location, perhaps your home, residence, or location can be on your mind during this retrograde period. Mother's health could also be an issue that pops up. For Libra natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your 7th house of partnerships and contracts. So Rahu has been transiting your 7th house for the past 18 months, and it may have caused some obstacles in your personal life. So some of the things that could have happened are, if you had been in a relationship, it can make you overly obsessed and in love with the person, and the obsession and love may not be reciprocated, causing a relationship to end. Or it can make a person feel like they are not enjoying or getting what they want out of their relationship, which can cause a person to engage in extramarital affairs. Rahu could also have caused unnecessary conflict and fighting in a relationship, as well as temporary separation, since this transit has taken place in the sign of Aries. If you are single, it may have also made it difficult for you to find a prospective partner. So these are some of the worst case scenarios. So now Jupiter retrograde is a time to reassess what you want out of your personal relationship. Remember, Jupiter is the planet of free will, and Rahu will soon be moving out of your 7th house, which means this will be a period where you can start to work towards what you really want in a relationship. Now, if you found a prospective partner in the past 6 to 12 months, then this Jupiter retrograde transit can be a good time to discuss marriage. But because Saturn is also retrograde in the 5th house, this is a good time to do all the planning and organizing rather than trying to speed things up and tie the knot. If you had planned to get married sometime earlier this year, but for reasons it had to be delayed or postponed, then this current period you can reschedule a marriage, because retrograde means having to come back to something from the past. If you are already married or in a long-term relationship, then Jupiter retrograde for you guys is a time to resolve your disagreements as a couple. So you see, even during the course of a marriage, it's normal for disagreements to pop up. So there could be disagreements on when to have children, household responsibilities, or even trivial matters. So this transit is giving you the opportunity to ensure agreement on any issues so that you can maintain and strengthen the marriage bond. The 7th house is marriage, but it signifies contracts, and when two people get married, they sign an agreement, but they also have verbal agreements on future goals. So Jupiter retrograde is an opportunity to discuss these goals and agreements and make sure you're both on the same page. Libra naturally rules the 7th house, and relationships and marriages are all about being fair and transparent. So if there has been any unfairness in your relationship, then this will be a time it will have to be corrected. If you are self-employed or in a business partnership, Guru Jandal Yog may have affected your business activities or caused disagreements with any business partners. Jupiter is ruling your 3rd house of self-efforts, so you might have been putting in lots of effort without getting the expected result. Jupiter's direct motion in Aries makes a person spend a lot of energy, but it does not always give the greatest reward. Now with Rahu set to move out, this Jupiter retrograde will make a person more focused, and you will be able to see opportunities and potential which you may not have taken action on yet, which means that you'll be able to see improvements in your livelihood. Jupiter also rules your 6th house, which is a house of service and work, but also health and well-being. So in terms of work, Guru Jandal Yog may have disturbed your work, where a person can experience a loss of position, demotion, or unpleasant working conditions. So any changes in your work could also have given you dissatisfaction. So now that Jupiter is going retrograde and Rahu is soon moving into your 6th house, this is a good time to go back and attend to any 6th house issues, which includes restarting your career. So this is a good time to apply and secure a more desirable job, a time to discuss more favorable working conditions. And with Rahu moving into your 6th house, this can further support your career, which I will talk about more when I make the Rahu Ketu transit video. The 6th house also represents everyday routine. So Jupiter retrograde in the 7th can be a time to examine the resources you need to be productive in your daily life. How can you better support your daily routine? Now, resources don't always mean money. It can mean knowledge or simply making the changes in your life for you to be able to support your daily patterns more effectively, such as implementing better habits. Jupiter is aspecting your 1st house, so any changes you make to better support your daily life will have a positive impact on your wellness and personality. Jupiter retrograde influencing the 7th house can also be a period you can also be remembering old relationships or people from the past. People who have passed away or those that you lost contact with. You could be remembering past relationships and you may have regrets. So this can also be a time where you could be filled with some regret of the past, which can make it a difficult time for you to forgive yourself. When the 6th house lord is in the 7th house, a person can also experience legal issues with regards to contracts. Obviously, marriage is one contractual agreement, but there could be other contractual agreements which need negotiating and renewing, such as work-related contracts or home rental agreement contracts. For Scorpio natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your 6th house of health, wellness and daily routine. So firstly, Guru Chandal Yog in the 6th house, which is ruled by Aries, amplifies a person's natural drive and ambition in their work. It can make a person very hardworking and determined to succeed. So some of you may have worked really hard in your job and would have been able to ruthlessly overcome obstacles in your workplace, resulting in positive growth and a sense of achievement as far as career is concerned. So if you did experience a positive time in your work, then this Jupiter retrograde can be a time where things can now start to settle down and the workload may start to reduce. However, obstacles may still be there. Jobs and tasks from the past 5 months can reappear again, which can cause some frustration. That drive and determination can still be there, but you can also start to feel a little bit burned out and start to feel overwhelmed in your work or daily life, resulting in a reduction of productivity and sapping of your energy levels. So not everyone will feel this way. It really depends on how strong your 6th house is and Mars is. But if you do, then this Jupiter retrograde is a time to evaluate your options, simplify your work daily routine and prioritize self-care. Now, if you had a difficult time with work during the Guru Chandal Yog, perhaps you couldn't get a job or difficulties arose with co-workers or you suffered a fall from a position, then Jupiter retrograde is a time to reboot your work life and start over again. Here you can get a job if you don't have one, and a person can become more self-aware, where they can objectively evaluate their emotions, allowing them to improve their workplace relationships to create a more beneficial environment. Remember, Jupiter is the planet of optimism. So if you are not feeling happy, you have to change something to create that contentment. The 6th house is naturally an analytical house because it is the natural house of Virgo. So Jupiter retrograde here can give you a tendency to overanalyze things, which means that it takes even longer to complete tasks, perform responsibilities and make decisions. So during this retrograde period, it's important to allow extra time as far as work responsibilities are concerned. Jupiter also rules your 2nd house, which can show that you might have had a stressful time with regards to family pressures, home environment, and overall experienced a lack of happiness because Saturn is also in your 4th house. So with Rahu about to move into your 5th house and Jupiter transiting in retrograde motion, some of the pressure can start to ease, either naturally or there could be some solutions making your life easier. If you have been devoting a lot of time towards your family, which is also making you exhausted, this can be a time to review your family responsibilities and make them more manageable. The 2nd house also represents money. Guru Jandal Yog may have had an effect on your finances, which could have been another cause of mental stress. There could have been a block in accessing money, or you may have suffered some losses. Jupiter retrograde can be a time to restructure and find solutions to any financial obligations you have, to help ease monetary pressures, because the 6th house is the house of debt. Jupiter in Bharani Nakshatra is a time to be creative, which means it's a time to generate ideas and alternatives to solve any family or financial problems. This retrograde period can be a time where you may also be reviewing your personal finances and looking at opportunities for growing your money. The 6th house, as I mentioned, is a natural analytical house, and Jupiter is not an analytical planet. But when it is retrograde, it is a time to think and absorb and take information in. The 5th house is ruled by Jupiter, which represents children. So during this retrograde period, 5th house matters can be at the forefront of your mind. So firstly, if you have been unsuccessful in trying to conceive during this Guru Jandal Yog, now that Jupiter is going retrograde, there are better chances because the energy is more channeled and you will be able to find ways to boost fertility. Rahu will also be entering your 5th house, which can give children, which I will talk about more in the Rahu Ketu transit video. Now, if you already have kids or children, during Guru Jandal Yog, your relationship with them may have been strained, or if they are of adult age, it could simply mean that they have been away from you for a while, or they may have been suffering unpleasant health. So this retrograde time is a period to focus on what you can control with regards to children. If they are more of an adolescent age, then this is a time for you to replace any expectations with plans on how to deal with any issues and also prepare for different possibilities. For those that are students, this is a time you may have to show a great deal of patience because your 3rd Lord Saturn is retrograde and 5th Lord Jupiter retrograde in the 6th house means there can be obstacles in your higher learning. Either you can experience mental blocks or there could be events out of your hands which can cause challenges. For Sagittarius natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your 5th house of creative expression, passions, and the areas you find pleasure and joy in. So since Jupiter is the lord of your chart, together with the condition of the 1st house, this retrograde phase will have a greater influence on you. Saturn is also in retrograde motion. So with 2 of the larger planets moving backwards, the next few months will have a more significant impact on your mind, decision making, and overall personality. So both Jupiter and Saturn are transiting good houses, but the next few months they will not be moving in conventional motion, which means that you may encounter bumps and detours and may find it difficult to move forward in your life. Instead, this will be a time and an opportunity for you to go back and address things in your life which you have been delaying. If you are someone who likes to put things off, this period will demand action from you, either by choice or through some sort of event where you will be forced to make a decision. Since Saturn is retrograde in the 3rd house, which is the house of gathering information and processing information, you'll be reprocessing information and making important decisions in your life. These decisions could be related to 5th house matters, which is where Jupiter is transiting in retrograde motion. The 5th house is the higher form of the 3rd house, which means that the decisions you make will have an impact on the rest of your life. There could be important decisions you make with regards to children, romance, investments and money, higher education or residence, because these are the things Jupiter is ruling in your chart. So when the first house lord Jupiter goes retrograde, it is a time for soul searching, which can be an in-depth, honest evaluation and examination of your life's motivations, your values, and your emotions regarding your life path. Since the first house is the house of new beginnings, you may go back and recapture a missed opportunity in your life. It may not be something completely new, but rather going back and starting something again. The fifth house represents our ego, and Guru Jandal Yog here may have created an illusion of false confidence, where a person can act like someone which they are realistically not. Guru Jandal Yog may have fabricated an inflated ego. So now Jupiter retrograde is a time where you'll be consciously thinking about who you really are, which can soften your ego and return yourself to a more realistic nature. Reworking your ego will bring inner peace, which may help you go back and make progress in your life. If you have been dating someone for the past 6 to 12 months, then Jupiter retrograde can also be a time when things start to slow down, and in some cases relationships can end. That's because Rahu in your fifth house and Guru Jandal Yog may have created an illusion of a perfect relationship or connection the past 6 to 12 months, where two people can be going out and having fun, which is what Rahu likes. But now the energy is changing. The Jupiterian energy is now taking over and being directed inwards, so you will be thinking long and hard about any connection you have formed and contemplating whether to continue. If you are single, Guru Jandal Yog may also have made it challenging for you to find a person to date, or you may have found a lack of happiness when you have been dating prospective partners. Jupiter retrograde is a time for you to think about how you identify and pursue prospective partners. You may look at new avenues in how to meet people, or simply this can show you going back to a prospective partner. Saturn retrograde in the third house and Jupiter retrograde in the fifth can be a good time to actually enhance your creativity by reviewing your skills and talents and looking at them from a different perspective. So whatever hobbies, leisure activities or pastime you have, this can be a good time to improve them if you can utilize the energy correctly. So you see, creativity is categorized by originality or thought, or showing imagination. Creativity is a way of looking at the world differently, seeing possibilities where others only see problems. It's about thinking outside the box and finding unique solutions to challenges. So for example, if you are involved with sports, you can engage in different training methods or receive coaching to improve your skills. If you are involved with art and design, this can be a time where you can experiment and collaborate with others. So this slowdown of the Jupiterian energy is actually beneficial, as it's giving you an opportunity to reflect, think and improve. Fifth house also denotes knowledge. So if you are studying, this retrograde energy is a time for self-assessment and engaging in reflective learning. You can reflect on your effort, identity, improvements, and adjust your quality of work. What can you do better? If a person is stubborn and rigid in their approach, then this retrograde Jupiter can feel like a difficult period where things can be slow and inspiration can be hard to find. Even if you are a teacher, advisor, or even a consultant, which are professions which suit many Sagittarius people, you can ask yourself how you can do things differently to improve your delivery and expertise. This could be a time to network and see how they are delivering their lessons or building up a better rapport with the classroom so that you can engage with them more effectively. If you are a consultant, Saturn retrograde in the 3rd house is also a time to think about how to communicate more productively and successfully. The 5th house also denotes investments. So when Jupiter is retrograde in the 5th house, you may be thinking about areas where you have invested money in recent times. You see, Guru Jandal Yog in the 5th house can make a person take a gamble on high risk investment and also make a person invest impulsively, especially if they have the majority of planets in fiery signs. If in your natal chart the 5th house, the money houses and Mercury are strong, then Jupiter retrograde can be a time to think how you can better create wealth and look at opportunities which you may not have considered previously. Jupiter is also ruling your 4th house, which is a house of mother, home and happiness. So if you have suffered any issues relating to property or your home, or you felt a block in your happiness, then Rahu going into the 4th house with Jupiter in retrograde motion in the 5th can be a better time. However, caution is recommended because Rahu in the 4th can also damage the house while they seek happiness, which I will talk about more when I make the Rahu Ketu transit video. For Capricorn natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your 4th house of care, comfort and domestic happiness. So Guru Jandal Yog was formed in your 4th house, and this may have caused some disturbances in your domestic life. Saturn has also been transiting in your 2nd house of family. So this year so far, it may have been a challenging time at home, and you may have experienced a lack of happiness in your mind. So the 4th house is the natural house for Cancer, and therefore this house has a lot to do with emotions and overall domestic happiness. Rahu has been transiting the 4th house the past 18 months, and it can make a person chase individual happiness, which may not sound that bad, but it can be at the expense of hurting others, especially family, and disturbing the home environment. So now Rahu will move into your 3rd house. Jupiter retrograde can be a period where you may be forced to make a decision between external happiness or the happiness of others close to you. The 4th house, being a Kendra house, has a big impact on an individual's personality because it is the house of emotions, and emotions influence the type of person an individual is. It doesn't matter how old you are, regardless of age, especially in this day and age, people are always searching for happiness. So when Jupiter is retrograde in the 4th house, a person can also find happiness by looking within themselves, by being content, appreciating what they have, rather than chasing external validation. Jupiter retrograde in the 4th house can also resolve property related issues. If you bought a house or land anytime during the past 6 to 12 months, you may have experienced delays in settlement or construction related issues, which many people have been experiencing in recent years. So things may start to progress a little bit now. If you have struggled to find a property or land, then during this retrograde period, you may be able to acquire something during this phase. Jupiter retrograde in the 4th house can also be a time which requires you to address any home maintenance repairs. So if there is something that you have been delaying or putting off, then you may have to attend to it during this period. Jupiter is ruling your 12th house, which is a house of losses and letting go. Jupiter retrograde in the 4th house can bring back past memories, past emotions, and past events back onto a person's mind. They may have let go of these memories, but all of a sudden it can return. If you have moved abroad or far away from your home in the past 18 months, then this retrograde period can mean that you can take a trip back to your home country, or it can even make a person start to feel a little bit homesick. The 4th house is our comfort. So I mentioned property, but comforts can also include vehicles or furniture or anything tangible. So if you made any large purchases during the past 6 to 12 months, then during this period you may start to feel a little bit regretful, or you can encounter some issues with what you purchased. So for example, if you bought a car, it is possible now that you may have to take it for servicing or undertake some car maintenance, as Jupiter retrograde means certain work may be required before you can experience happiness with it. Jupiter is the significator of higher education and knowledge, and when it transits the 4th house, a person can experience changes in their higher learning. So when it is retrograde, it is a period of self-reflecting on your learning progress and what actions and decisions you need to take for the rest of the course. If you have been suffering from any physical or mental health related issues, Jupiter retrograde can be a time to look at alternative healing methods, especially if you haven't found any relief. It's a time to reconsider options which you may have dismissed or not given much thought to. Because when Jupiter is retrograde, it is moving in an unconventional motion, which means that this can be a time to think a little bit outside the box. Jupiter retrograde in the 4th house can make a person overthink a lot, especially for Capricorns, which is a natural earth sign, and they can be a little bit pessimistic, and therefore thinking too much can cause a little bit of depression and anxiety. So if you do feel like this, it is a good time to practice specific gratitude. Think about things that you are grateful for and be appreciative of the things you have. Since Jupiter is also ruling the 3rd house, and when it is in retrograde motion, you may have to reprocess certain information or events in your mind to help you make decisions around property, home, or family, or anything related to the 4th house. For Aquarius natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your 3rd house, which represents the field of your life related to intelligence, intellect, conscious mind, and your ability to relate to your immediate surroundings. When Aries rules the 3rd house, a person can have a fast mind and is quick to take action. Guru Chandal Yoga was formed in this house, and some of you may have experienced positive results despite going through the peak phase of Saraswati. Rahu may have provided you a boost in your energy levels, and you may have been able to take decisive action on certain matters. However, Rahu will soon move into your 2nd house, while Jupiter will go retrograde. So firstly, this can be a time where things can slow down. Saturn is retrograde in your first house, so this can be a time of overthinking. When a planet is retrograde in the third house in transit, it can make a person overanalyze things, overthink things, especially when it is a large planet like Jupiter. There can be so many thoughts, ideas, and possibly even worries and fears in your mind, because Saturn is also retrograde in your first house. You could be overthinking about money and resources because Jupiter is ruling the 2nd and 11th houses. You could be overthinking about health, family, assets, or any new beginning you have undertaken in your life. So if you do feel like this, you need to take care of your mental well-being. You have to maintain a healthy lifestyle, take up relaxing activities, and focus on positivity. After all, this is just a phase which will pass. Now, this overthinking can lead to re-evaluating and looking at things from a different perspective, which can lead you to change your mind or decisions on certain things, because third house represents decision making. Our cognitive systems are built to adapt to new information, and the third house is naturally a dual house, so it represents flexibility. However, Aquarius natives are generally not the most flexible people because it is a fixed sign. So this may make this transit a little bit challenging on the mind, but this is obviously depending on your natal chart. The third house is your communication and energy levels. So generally, Jupiter retrograde can reduce your energy levels. To get anything complete, you might feel like you have to work twice as hard. And this is especially the case since Saturn is retrograde in your first house. So this is not the time to start anything brand new. You can revisit things, change your mind on certain matters and plan for the future, but not a time to start any new project. Jupiter retrograde in the third house can make you more thoughtful before communicating, which is actually a good thing. Because generally when Jupiter was direct in Aries in the third house, it can lead to action and expressing yourself without much thought. During these few months, you can become a little bit introverted and you will be expressing yourself with care. Now, there can be some similarity between Jupiter retrograde in the third house and Mercury retrograde because both are impacting communication. So therefore, miscommunication can happen because your mind could be filled with so many things. So it's important to give yourself extra time when responding to any correspondence, re-clarifying jobs and tasks at work, and being mindful of communication delays and interruptions. Especially if you are in teaching, advising, consulting, or any Jupiter-related fields, you have to take a little bit of extra care because what you say can have a more significant impact. The third house represents self-efforts, and therefore it signifies business or self-employment and entrepreneurship. Jupiter retrograde is a good time to get a deeper understanding of business needs and develop strategic plans, because this is a good time to reprocess information and is part of the decision making I mentioned earlier. Jupiter is ruling your 2nd and 11th house, which are money houses. So this retrograde can mean that you may have to attend to activities related to these two houses. There could be some changes in your finances. This could be a time that you can cash out any past earnings in stock and investment. if you are going through employment issues or your work is not stable, then this retrograde can also affect your income, especially work, since Saturn is also retrograde in your first house. This is a time you have to take care of both your mental and physical health. Saturn retrograde in the first house can mean that past health issues can come back, while Jupiter retrograde in the third can cause some anxiety and stress. Diseases related to excretory organs can also be a concern during this period. For Pisces natives, Jupiter will be going retrograde in your second house of possessions, family, and the concept of value. The second house is also an Eartha Trigona house, which means that this house deals with work and the material side of a person's life. Now for Pisces natives, Saturn is retrograde in the 12th house. Jupiter is retrograde in the second house. And Rahu next month will move into your first house. So some of you are going through a phase where you are letting go and losing things in your life, but at the same time finding new opportunities. Many of you would have changed your job, residence, city, or even country. So similar to Sagittarius natives, Jupiter is the lord of your chart. And when it goes retrograde, this can be a time for soul searching and figuring out your purpose, your motivations, and what you may need to change your life. You will need to revisit the first house, which is a house of new beginnings. And with Rahu transiting your first house, you may have an urge towards finding a greater meaning and understanding of life. So when Jupiter goes retrograde in the second house, you will be thinking about how you can better support and stabilize any new beginning in your life the past year or so. Because the second house provides support to the first house. If the second house is weak, a person can find many obstacles whenever they start something new in their life. The second house is the anchor which holds things together. So in a practical sense, money and work are generally the two things which stabilizes a person when they move to a city or a new country, and these are represented by the second house. Guru Chandal Yoga was formed in your second house, which although may have helped you make money, it could have also increased your expenditure, because the second house is what you value. And whatever a person values, they will spend money on that. So now Jupiter retrograde can be a better period in terms of saving money. And with Saturn also retrograde in the 12th house, there will be more caution to let things go, especially money. So if you do have stable employment, then therefore you should have stable income, and this will be beneficial for your savings. However, if you are seeking a new opportunity in terms of career or new sources of income, then this Jupiter retrograde can be challenging, and you would have to wait until Jupiter becomes direct in order to expand financially. Now, if your career and work is not stable, then Jupiter retrograde in the second house can slow down your income, and you can find it challenging to find stable work opportunities during this period. However, again, this will cause you to re-evaluate your finances, reduce spending, and how you can better support yourself. Jupiter retrograde in the second house, ruled by Aries, can also make a person want to expand their assets in unconventional ways, because Jupiter retrograde can become eccentric. So during this transit, a person can be thinking about alternative ways to grow money through stocks, property, land, and will generally be thinking about how they can take better responsibility too. When Jupiter is retrograde in the second house, this is also a time to activate or develop your inner resource. So when people talk about Jupiter in the second house, money is always the first thing that comes into a person's mind. However, when it is retrograde, it is an opportunity to enhance your inner resources, which are strengths and attitudes inside of us. Because when Jupiter is retrograde, it is a time to grow internally rather than externally. Inner resources are things such as confidence, courage, determination, which are all connected to the sign of Aries, and which are also required along with money when a person starts something new. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comment section, or you can email me at exaltedmercury8@gmail.com. And I will see you next time. Thank you.